I said it after last week's First Impressions, Episode 1, Comedy of the Season, and this episode just reassures me that it is, but I think there's an argument to be made. It might also be a runner-up for comedy/romance of the season. This show, it's just hilarious. I assumed some of these shenanigans might occur, but when you kick off the episode with, like, the paradise door, where does this doorway lead? Where is the place that Jingoji wants to go more than any other? And it turns out to be Tachibana's apartment. Not just the apartment, a spitting image. The same garbage, the same food in the fridge, the same everything. It's hard not to love this. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, the fact that it's honestly, in terms of an ability, given a foreign environment, you don't know where you are. The ability to summon essentially an apartment that you're used to, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, initially when they were concluding the episode, because they had all this gold from basically the siege, I was like, oh, you could actually use the apartment as like a storage facility, right? Because how the hell are you going to carry around all that gold if you do take it? So there's a lot of ways you can think about how these kind of abilities, as absurd as they are, could be useful for their adventure. But the idea of going from like having barely any meals in the apartment, they have running water, they have electricity, they don't get a TV signal, but just to see the escalation of the bullshit was gold. You get to see truly what Tachibana is able to do with her girlish charms. You have, I don't even know how many marriage proposals, not even just marriage proposals. It felt like a kidnapping because they're like, you know what, I love you, we're getting married, we're gonna have 12 children. As then you also have just the absolute brute strength of Jingoji, who one after another was like pile driving these soldiers into the ground head first. And I'm like, this show has no right to be this funny. But I think from the initial hook of transporting two characters to a fantasy world, which already is double the fun of what you're typically used to the gender bending, to the will they won't they romance, because I mean the more I see of Jingoji's past with Tachibana, the more I'm convinced he absolutely was in love with this boy. But to see just like how Tachibana is now aware that there's a very, very strong chance that Jingoji is very much flustered by the new appearance and is having fun with that, you can just start writing more and more fan theories or fan ideas of where the show could go, and it probably will happen alongside a dozen other things you could even see coming. The escalation, though, of this episode was even better than the first. The first, I mean, if it needed any reason to sell you on the wild adventure, it did so for me. But the idea of going into this village and how I was kind of assuming, and I'm not sure why, it was naturally just because usually in these types of shows, things don't work out the way they should. But the idea that you have two characters reincarnating or being transported to another world, it allows for things to happen successfully while still having a dramatic flair. Because had this just been Tachibana, right? I wish I was a girl in the drunken haze, gets transported and is alone. I would assume when walking up to that village, the girlish charms wouldn't work. But because Jingoji was transported with Tachibana, it allows for those girlish charms to immediately work, as if, I mean, from brute strength and skills alone, Jingoji can take care of anyone. And in terms of persuasion and basically getting whatever you want, Tachibana can do that. They are overpowered and can navigate this world without much struggle. So where is the drama? Where is the challenge? And that's where the romance comes in. This show knows how silly it is. It knows that it wants to have fun. And the idea of these two characters, you know, unable to admit feelings when they start to kind of blossom, or the idea of just trying to poke fun when it comes to like Tachibana towards the Jingoji, where Jingoji just very much just trying to like, you know, being like, God damn, you know, I want to marry her. Wait, what am I talking about? I can't talk about marriage. We haven't even started dating yet. To them bashing his head into the tree, bleeding just ridiculous amounts of blood. It's just, to see this, it's so stupid, but it's so smart because of how silly it is. It takes the most ludicrous of ideas, and I mean, truthfully, I've never seen a show take two characters who were bros in the real world, throw them into this fantasy world, gender bend one, and have this weird romance comedy take place. To me, that's fresh and exciting. And I think I compared it in my first impressions to like that initial comedy that I had with like stuff like Cautious Hero. And those are the types of things that just, they understand what the genre is. They understand the tropes that get laid out, the kind of skanky clothing on the female characters, the ridiculously kind of like powerful attacks on the male main character. You know, you have the generic black sword, the kind of like wardrobe, the Kirito design, and Jingoji's just in a business suit, basically like punching or driving people into the ground, as you have like just this kind of like cute outfit for Tachibana, but no matter what's being shown, it's going to cause probably a world war, because based on what we saw in this episode, if Tachibana admits to being in a relationship, like if she was to pick a random villager and say, yeah, the chief and I we're getting married, there would be a war. Like, people would kill themselves and kill others in order to become the husband to Tachibana. It shouldn't be this funny. It shouldn't work as well as it does. But the production is incredible. This is so slapstick comedy. There's a moment in this episode where Tachibana is rolling like a Looney Tunes character into the other guards, as then you also have just these moments where you have like the Grinch moment where, you know, Jingoji's heart's pounding from his chest as is it like almost like it grew 10 sizes that second. All the moments leading up to it, to the idea of like, you know, getting some general, like, normal heroic things, like, okay, here's all this gold in this, like, warehouse facility, because they take care of it, and they're like, okay, it's clearly yours, because you saved us, but, you know, they're trying to be nice. We can't accept all this. This is ridiculous. Most of this was probably stolen from you. Yeah, but think of it as a reward. Well, we can't really say no to that. And then you just see the flames start going, as then you have the after the credit sequence with, not sure who the characters are, but just your typical, oh, what a beautiful day, we're gonna have a nice day. You open the curtains and you see your entire forest or whatever was there before burnt to ashes with the most ridiculous reaction. These characters are going to cause such a ruckus while also solving so much without much struggle. And I'm so excited to see how many characters will be blinded by Tachibana's presence, because from what we've seen, males and females alike want to marry Tachibana. But at the same time, we have the ridiculous OP-ness of someone like Jingoji. I mean, it's even said in this episode, you can even see the stats of other people, and his stats are ridiculously better than anyone else that they've seen. So I'm curious to see if there will be characters who will not be like in awe of Tachibana and will be able to hold their composure. Maybe we'll have a character who is just so disinterested in like sex and romance that they're just completely unfazed by Tachibana's kind of charms. And then in return, what type of like drama maybe that will cause. But ultimately, the fact that they can so easily navigate this wasteland, and no matter what's thrown their way, they can deal with it, from summoning of the apartment doors, going to sleep. Like, they don't have to build a camp or anything like that. They can literally go to his apartment. And if you're not telling me the fanfics aren't writing themselves with this situation, you're lying to me. But you also just have the idea of the drama being between the central two, who can so easily navigate this hilarious situation. This is amazing. These are the types of comedy shows that are completely for me. I would understand it if some people don't like it. I mean, I saw some people say, I just didn't think it was funny last week. Perfectly fine. I mean, not every bit of comedy is going to be for everyone. If it was, I mean, we'd have the same type of comedy shows every single season. But whatever madman decided to write this source material, and whatever mad committee decided to fund it to be an anime, I thank you, because this is the type of ludicrous shit that I look for in anime and can only really work in anime. But goddamn, this is absolutely incredible. I would love to know everyone's thoughts and feelings on episode 2 of Reincarnated into a total fantasy knockout. What did you think? Favorite moment? Personally, for me, favorite moment just has to be the idea of just like grabbing soldiers and just planting them in the ground like they're a vegetable. That shit just had me rolling. But let me know yours down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.